Okay, here's some fun facts about drugs in space that you might not know about. Number 2. Amphetamine was actually the first drug used in orbit. According to a 1964 New York Times article, while aboard Mercury 9, astronaut Gordon Cooper was asked to take 5 milligrams of dextroamphetamine to ensure his alertness during the descent, as he had reported feeling fatigued in the hours prior. Needless to say, that was his last complaint of fatigue. Dextroamphetamine was also present in medical kits for subsequent missions, including Apollo 11. The exact contents of this kit seem to differ from mission to mission, but it was said to have contained scopolamine for motion sickness and an opioid for pain relief. However, it can be argued by extreme technicality that this may not be the first psychoactive substance ingested in space, because while testing the human ability to ingest food in zero gravity, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin consumed 5.6 ounces of chocolate pudding. Chocolate naturally contains caffeine, but it's highly unlikely that the amount of caffeine in the pudding was large enough to have a psychoactive effect. However, less controversially, the Soviets definitely did make their mark on space pharmacology by being the first to consume vodka while in orbit, but also by inventing the first psychoactive drug specifically for cosmonauts, known as phenylpiracetam, an atypical stimulant intended to help cosmonauts deal with the psychological stressors of early spaceflight, with cosmonaut Alexander Serebrov describing the drug as an equalizer of the whole organism. Probably made more sense in Russian. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the drug was repurposed for civilian medicine and is still used to this day in ex-Soviet states. Moving past the space race and into the modern era, sleep medications like Ambien or Zolpidem are the most commonly dispensed drug class on the space station. Prior to the retirement of the space shuttle, it was recorded that more than half of the shuttle crew used so-called Z-drugs for the majority of nights. The deleterious effects of orbital spaceflight on circadian rhythm are well known, because unlike on the ground, astronauts are not able to rely on the sun to set their body's clock. NASA employs meal scheduling and light manipulation to overcome this, but sleep-wake difficulties are still a common complaint on the space station. On the flip side, astronauts also have access to medications to help them stay awake, such as caffeine and modafinil, with the latter drug largely replacing amphetamine for this purpose. Historically, space psychiatry has mostly been concerned with acute and non-pathological psychological problems in space. After all, astronauts undergo extensive psychological testing and evaluation, and are in part selected for their ability to keep calm in extremely physically and psychologically demanding situations. Therefore, it should be obvious that chronic psychiatric conditions are not really a focus of space psychiatry. However, long-term spaceflight may change things. It's likely that our first missions to Mars will take at least 6 months each way, and will be in very cramped spaceships. The mission will be extremely long, unabortable, and the possibility of rescue is near zero. Even if nothing were to go wrong, the psychological risk that could pose on even the strongest of psyches for the development of psychiatric disorders like major depression would be substantial. Therefore, maintaining the psychological fortitude of the few astronauts on board will be crucial to a successful and humane mission. It will be interesting to see how space psychiatry addresses these concerns